I'm going to talk about something that's really bothered me. I wasn't going to talk about it, but I'm really rattled now, so I'm going to.
Firstly, thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. I watched it and it really resonated with me. I love the theatre. I think actors and actresses and everyone who performs in any capacity are incredible. You take a leap of faith when you step on stage and you put yourself in a vulnerable position. You put your trust that the audience will look after you, will support you. And what you described is so upsetting. There is no place in the theatre for racism, homophobia, prejudice, or anything that would make a performer feel uncomfortable. Theatre should be a safe space for everyone to enjoy the performance, the audience and those performing. If you're at the theatre and you don't enjoy what you're watching, get up and leave. I was so upset to hear about your story and what you experienced when you were performing. It can be also really challenging for those working in the theatre space to help with security or protect you, like you explained, because they're also worried about their own safety. So these are really delicate situations to handle, and there often isn't a right or a wrong. Particularly in that moment, people's emotions are heightened and people don't always respond in the correct way. You as the performer should be looked after and you should be in a safe space to perform. I believe that interactive theatre needs to have more controls in place. Many years ago, I worked as an actress and I auditioned and was booked to work at Thorpe Park. Now, every year at Halloween, they have various live theatrical events where people can come and experience live actors performing. It happens all around the world, Fright Night type things. I was placed in the 7 Deadly Sins, which was a section of rooms that people would walk through, the general public would walk through, and actors based in each room would perform one of the 7 Deadly Sins. We would rotate as actors, but typically we were alone in these rooms. One of the rooms, which was Lust, had a bed and you had to act out, scary things, jump out behind things, make people feel uncomfortable as they walked through. The people walking through were told by security at the start, don't touch the actors, don't physically interact with them in any way. But of course, when people are scared, people react. So at one point, this group walked into the room. They were a bunch of very large, I believe, men at the time. Although it was dark, I could see that they were physically large. As they walked towards me, I jumped out and I scared them because that was my job. And the person at the front pushed me. They reacted fight or flight. I don't hold it against them, but they pushed me so hard I went flying back, thankfully landing on the bed. And I took a moment to sort of realign myself. It's dark, there's flashy lights, I was wearing a mask. I didn't really know where I was. And by that point, the group had left the room. But afterwards, I thought about what I went through and I realized how dangerous it was for me. Firstly, I could have actually been physically hurt. Secondly, I was really disorientated when I fell over and I could have fallen on the floor. I could have knocked my head. There was no other actors in the space. And when I sort of came to, there was no one else around me. That was really dangerous. So I took it up with the superior who ran the show at Thorpe Park, and I said, look, I really believe that actors need to be working in pairs because I felt really unsafe. I'm a physically strong woman. I feel I can protect myself most of the times, but when people are scared, people react, and it was really, really uncomfortable to me. At the time, they did nothing about it. They didn't change the rules, so I quit. I wasn't prepared to stay somewhere where I felt unsafe. And looking back, I wish I'd fought harder for change. I do believe that they then did make changes, and speaking to some of the actors who stayed, they were put into pairs. They were taught about the panic button, but I was so far away from the panic button, there was no chance I would ever have pressed that because I was on my own. In interactive theatre, you need to have security that will look after the performers, because in that situation, I could have got into a lot of trouble. Of course, all different theatre will have different expectations and pressures on the performers, and it's the theatre's job to keep the performers safe. So if as a performer you ever feel uncomfortable, you should take it up with the people who run the theatre and encourage change to make sure you feel safe. I would love to share my top tips on theatre etiquette with you. So if you'd like to see another video about that, comment below, as I love going to the theatre. I went very recently to watch The Life of Pi, and that was fantastic. So if you'd like to hear about theatre etiquette and what to do and what not to do when visiting the theatre, just let me know.